Brian Cashman just called something an issue. And the last time Brian Cashman publicly called something an issue before a trade deadline, he went out and spent the farm to fix it. 14 days. That is all that is left before the August 3rd trade deadline closes, and whatever the New York Yankees do, or do not do, becomes the official statement of this franchise's belief in its own season. Aaron Judge is on the 60-day injured list. Rib not healed enough for baseball activities. The Yankees are 55-44. 1.5 games behind the Tampa Bay Rays in the AL East. 18 wins and 21 losses since Judge went down. And Brian Cashman, the man who has been running this franchise through every high and every low for decades, stood in front of reporters and said the Yankees' catching situation is an issue. Not concerning. Not something we are monitoring. An issue. And then, hours later, Francys Romero, a baseball reporter with genuine insider connections, leaked the specific names the Yankees are willing to put on the table to fix it. Spencer Jones, Jasson Dominguez, two of the most coveted young outfielders in the entire organization, on the trade block. Now, 13 days before the deadline. And the moment those names leaked, the internet went absolutely wild. Because if Cashman is willing to trade Jones and Dominguez, it means he is not just tinkering at the margins of this roster. He is swinging hard. Today we are going inside every piece of the league plan, what they are getting, what they are giving up, and the unexpected blockbuster angle that nobody saw coming. This channel breaks down the real trade plan underneath every MLB headline. Hit subscribe right now, because today we have more fresh insider detail about the Yankees' deadline strategy than you will find anywhere else. Let's get all the way in. Let us start with the leak itself. Because the specific way this information entered the public conversation tells you something important about how real it is and how seriously the baseball world is taking it. Francys Romero, a baseball insider whose work circulates through the serious MLB reporting community rather than through the viral rumor mill, posted on Sunday, July 20th, that Spencer Jones and Jasson Dominguez are two of the key pieces the Yankees are planning to use as trade assets ahead of the August 3rd deadline. Key pieces? Not available in the right deal. Not names that could be included. Key pieces? The specific language of a reporter who has been told something specific by someone inside the organization rather than someone speculating about what might happen. Now, before we go into what that means, let us slow down on exactly who Spencer Jones and Jasson Dominguez are. Because the casual baseball fan might hear two outfielder names and think the Yankees are trading depth pieces. They are not. These are two players who, not long ago, were considered the most exciting young talent in one of the most storied farm systems in baseball. Jasson Dominguez, known as the Martian, was ranked as the Yankees' #1 overall prospect by MLB.com in both 2024 and 2025. Number 1. The top of the system. The player whose arrival was treated almost like a franchise-defining event by a fan base starved for the next homegrown superstar. He has played in 38 games for the Yankees this season, recorded 32 hits with 5 home runs and 11 RBIs, while slashing .235/412/684. Those numbers are not supernova production, but the OBP and the slugging tell you about the underlying quality of his at-bats. This is a player who knows how to take a pitch and can punish mistakes in a way that gets only more dangerous as he accumulates major league experience. Spencer Jones still holds his rookie status in 2026. He was ranked as the Yankees' #6 prospect entering this season. In 30 games at the major league level, he has recorded 17 hits with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs while batting .233. His minor league numbers this year are genuinely impressive: 14 home runs and 51 RBIs in AAA, the kind of production that makes the major league numbers look like the expected adjustment of a player who has not fully arrived yet rather than a player who has peaked. Trading either of these players would be significant. Trading both of them simultaneously is the kind of organizational commitment that goes well beyond fixing a depth problem. It is the declaration of a team that believes this window is open right now, and that the specific assets needed to keep the window from closing are worth more in the short term than the long-term development projects sitting in the minor league system. Here is the unexpected twist that nobody is connecting. And when you hear it, you are going to understand why the specific players being offered as trade assets reveal something about Cashman's true plan that the headlines are missing. Yardbarker published a piece just 19 hours ago that made the most pointed and most historically grounded criticism of the Jones and Dominguez trade rumors. They called it the Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar situation all over again. And if you know your Yankees history, really know it, that comparison is devastating. Frazier and Andujar were once two of the most exciting young talents in the Yankees system. Cashman held them, protected them, refused to trade them even when the return packages being offered were genuinely excellent. And by the time he eventually moved them, their trade value had cratered because the injuries and the inconsistency and the organizational mismanagement of their development had turned them from coveted pieces into afterthoughts. The national media made it a punchline. And the point Yardbarker was making about Jones and Dominguez is the same point. If Cashman is finally willing to trade them now, after years of protecting the farm, is it because their value is at its peak and this is the perfect organizational moment to capitalize? Or is it because the window to get maximum return for them is already beginning to close, and this is Cashman trying to extract value before it disappears? That question does not have a clean answer. But it is the question that every baseball analyst and every Yankees fan should be sitting with as the deadline approaches. Because the answer to it determines whether this trade plan is a bold organizational move or a desperation play wearing the costume of boldness. Now let us get to the specific targets. Because the rumor leak is only the first half of the story. The second half is what the Yankees are trying to get in return for Jones and Dominguez. And there are three separate targets being discussed at varying levels of credibility, each of which tells a different story about how ambitious and how realistic the Yankees' deadline plan actually is. Target number one is the most straightforward and the most practically urgent. Catcher. Brian Cashman himself provided the organizational permission slip for this specific pursuit when he publicly described the Yankees' catching situation as an issue. The numbers back him up completely. Yankees catchers have combined for a .519 OPS this season, the same mark as the Chicago White Sox, tied for the worst in all of baseball. The lowest among teams that are actually trying to win. In a season where Aaron Judge is on the 60-day IL and every run that crosses the plate without him becomes that much more precious, the Yankees are getting absolutely nothing from the position they call the most important defensive position on the field. The specific catcher whose name is most prominently attached to trade rumors is Ryan Jeffers of the Minnesota Twins. Jeffers is a legitimate major league catcher who provides real offensive production from a position where the Yankees are currently getting nothing. The Athlon Sports report published yesterday specifically constructed a potential deal around Spencer Jones and Jasson Dominguez going to Minnesota in exchange for Jeffers. That is a real package. A real proposal. One that makes organizational sense for both teams, and that the reporting community is treating as a genuine and active possibility rather than a speculative thought exercise. But here is where the sneaky Brian Cashman plan theory comes in. And it is the most fascinating piece of the entire leak trade story. Yanks Go Yard published a report 3 weeks ago specifically suggesting that the Ryan Jeffers rumors might be a deliberate smokescreen. A classic Cashman negotiating tactic. Leak interest in one specific player to drive down the price on the player you actually want. The theory specifically mentions Hunter Goodman of the Colorado Rockies as Cashman's potential true preference. Goodman is 26 years old. He has 30-plus home run power and 3 years of team control beyond 2026. He is exactly the kind of multi-year, cost-controlled asset that makes a trade genuinely transformational rather than just patching a hole for 14 months. And the specific Cashman track record, always looking for the deal that other teams do not see coming, makes the theory more than just speculation. It makes it genuinely plausible. Salvador Perez of the Kansas City Royals is the third catcher name in the conversation. Perez is different from both Jeffers and Goodman. He is a veteran, a former World Series champion, a player whose value is in his leadership and his defensive excellence rather than in multi-year team control. He is an October-tested presence in a clubhouse that is fighting to get to October without its captain, and in a deadline calculus that is partly about baseball performance and partly about the kind of veteran presence and competitive experience that a team leaning on youth in a pennant race needs. Perez offers something the numbers alone cannot capture. Target number 2 is the blockbuster that Yahoo Sports specifically identified as the must-make move before the deadline. And it is the one that has generated the most debate and the most excitement in Yankee circles over the last 48 hours. Luis Arraez of the San Francisco Giants. Arraez is one of the most unique offensive profiles in baseball. A 3-time batting champion. A contact hitter of such extraordinary consistency that his career batting average sits in a rarefied tier that only a handful of active players share. He does not hit for power. That is the traditional criticism of the Arraez profile in a lineup that is already short on power with Judge and Stanton both unavailable. But what he does that no amount of power hitting can substitute for is this: he makes contact. Consistently. Reliably. In the kinds of at-bats where the lineup needs someone to just keep the inning alive, just move the runner, just find a way to put the ball in play productively rather than striking out and sending the dugout back to the bench. The Yankees' .519 OPS catchers are not the only offensive problem this team is right now. The broader lineup production without Judge, 4.16 runs per game, 8th worst in the major leagues, is the systemic issue. And Arraez's specific skill, which is the ability to make contact in any count against any pitcher, is the direct antidote to lineups that go cold when their best hitters are unavailable. The specific trade architecture that Yahoo Sports proposed around Arraez involves Jazz Chisholm going the other direction. Chisholm is slashing .224/302/403 this season, nowhere close to the 50-50 season he entered the spring hoping to threaten. He is a free agent after the year. His trade value will be higher now than it will be in November, when teams have seen the full 2026 sample. Shipping Chisholm somewhere that values his power potential while collecting Arraez's contact consistency in return is the kind of deadline creativity that Cashman at his best is capable of executing. And getting Arraez without giving up Jones or Dominguez, keeping the outfield prospects in the system while solving the contact problem through an infield swap, is the version of this deadline that improves the roster in multiple places without emptying the farm entirely. Target number 3 is the quieter need that has somehow gotten less attention than catching and second base despite being equally critical to the Yankees' October chances. Bullpen help. Jon Heyman specifically noted that the Yankees are expected to prioritize bullpen help above everything else. And Cashman has historically been most effective at the deadline when he is adding relief pitching rather than position players, the diamonds in the rough, the under-the-radar arms that suddenly thrive in the high-leverage moments that the Bronx creates. Now let us talk about what all of this means for the Yankees season as a whole. Because the trade deadline plan that just leaked is not just a baseball transaction story. It is an organizational statement. It is Brian Cashman and the Yankees ownership looking at a 55-44 record, looking at a 60-day IL for Aaron Judge that still does not have a clear return timeline, looking at a September and October that could still produce something genuinely special, or could fade into the specific kind of near-miss disappointment that this franchise has experienced in some of its most painful recent years, and deciding what they believe. Do they believe Judge comes back? Do they believe this roster as constructed can win an American League pennant without maximum contributions from its captain? Do they believe Spencer Jones and Jasson Dominguez are better spent as present-tense trade chips than as future-tense development projects? And most importantly, do they believe August 3rd is a deadline that demands aggression rather than patience? The leaked trade plan says yes to all of it. Jones and Dominguez on the table. Cashman publicly identifying catching as an issue. Multiple credible targets being explored simultaneously across multiple different positions. The Yankees are not waiting to see what Judge's next reimaging shows. They are building a team that can compete now, with the roster they have, filling the specific holes that the current lineup has exposed. 13 days. August 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That is the window. And inside that window, Brian Cashman has a plan. It just leaked. And it is bigger than almost anyone in the baseball world was expecting from a team that built its reputation on protecting the farm. The Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar ghosts are watching from somewhere in the distance. And this time, maybe this time, Cashman is going to make the deal before the value disappears instead of after. That is the complete picture of the Yankees Blockbuster trade plan that just leaked. Every asset on the table, every target in the crosshairs, every layer of the strategy underneath the headlines. 13 days until the deadline. The plan is out. Now we find out if Cashman can execute it. Stay subscribed because this story is moving at deadline speed, and we will be right here for every development. Disclaimer: this video is made for entertainment and informational purposes only. All content is based on publicly available media reports, insider reporting, and sports journalism published at the time of production, including reporting from Francys Romero, Bleacher Report, Yahoo Sports, Athlon Sports, MLB.com, Yardbarker, Heavy.com, Yanks Go Yard, and John Heyman. This channel has no affiliation with the New York Yankees, MLB, Brian Cashman, or any individual or organization mentioned. All commentary is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult trusted sports outlets for verified information. Thank you sincerely for watching.